Listen closely because time is moving whether you pay attention or not. Another year approaches, and with it comes another chance. Not a guarantee, not a promise. A chance. But chances mean nothing if you keep dragging the same old weight behind you. So before 2026 arrives, delete these 5 things from your life. Not someday, not eventually. Delete the fear of starting small. It sounds simple, almost too simple. Yet for most people it is the very chain that keeps them tied to the same place year after year. The fear doesn't always look dramatic. It doesn't always arrive loudly. Most of the time it hides behind excuses that feel reasonable. I don't have enough resources yet. I'm not ready. I need to learn more first. I'll begin when things settle down. These lines feel safe. They feel logical. But they are nothing more than fear dressed up as strategy. Starting small is uncomfortable because it exposes you. It shows your rough edges, your lack of experience. The parts of you that still need work. It forces you to stand in places where you aren't brilliant yet, where nobody claps, where progress is quiet and unseen. And people hate that. They think starting small means they are less worthy, less capable, less talented. But the truth is, every great story has a small beginning. Every master was once a beginner who dared to look foolish for a while. Every success you admire started as something almost invisible. There is a kind of courage required in doing things that look insignificant. When you take the first step, you're not proving your talent, you're proving your willingness. And willingness is far rarer than ability. The fear of starting small convinces you that beginnings must be impressive. It pushes you to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect equipment, the perfect level of confidence. But perfection is a myth that kills more dreams than failure ever has. Life doesn't reward those who wait for the ideal start. It rewards those who start anyway. A small beginning doesn't mean a small destiny. It simply means you're willing to build instead of wish. It means you're willing to take responsibility for your story. Instead of waiting for circumstances to align in your favor, the ground you stand on right now is enough. The talent you have right now is enough. The knowledge you hold right now is enough to begin. You don't need the entire path before you take the first step. You don't need applause before you earn momentum. You don't need certainty to move. You just need courage to begin, even if the beginning looks unimpressive. When you let go of the fear of starting small, something powerful happens. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You stop measuring your pace against people who've been walking longer than you. You shift your focus from being good to getting better. You learn to value progress over perfection, effort over image, motion over hesitation. You allow yourself space to grow, to fail, to adjust, to improve. You stop running from the truth that everyone starts somewhere, and instead you embrace your somewhere as the place where transformation begins. Starting small teaches humility, discipline, patience, and resilience, qualities no shortcut can give you. And those qualities become the foundation for everything that will come later. Every giant step is built on dozens of small ones. Every expert was once unknown. Every success was once invisible. Starting small isn't a sign that you're behind. It's the sign that you're brave enough to begin. Silence the voices that say you're not enough. These voices appear in many forms, and they rarely announce themselves as enemies. Sometimes they come from people who think they are protecting you, telling you to be realistic, urging you not to aim too high. Sometimes they come from those who fear you might surpass them, so they keep your confidence small because your potential threatens their comfort. But the most damaging voice is the quiet one inside your own mind, the one that has memorized every doubt, every criticism, every moment you stumbled. It repeats those memories like warnings, convincing you that you're unworthy of growth, unprepared for change, undeserving of success. It becomes so familiar that you start to mistake it for truth. You start believing that hesitation is wisdom, that caution is safety, that self-limitation is humility. You begin to shrink without realizing it, adjusting your dreams to fit the size of your insecurities instead of expanding your courage to match the size of your destiny. These voices don't disappear on their own. They feed on hesitation, on comparison, on every moment you replay your mistakes instead of acknowledging your strength. When you let these voices grow louder, they begin to shape your decisions. They tell you to avoid trying because failing might hurt. They tell you not to hope because disappointment might sting. They tell you to stay small because growth requires exposure. Every time you listen, you surrender a little more of your power. You let fear negotiate your potential. You let uncertainty govern your action. And eventually, you stop challenging the narrative. You settle for a version of yourself that feels safe, but is far smaller than who you were meant to become. Silencing these voices doesn't mean pretending you're perfect. It means refusing to let insecurity speak louder than possibility. It means understanding that doubt is a normal visitor, but a terrible guide. You quiet these voices by choosing action, even when your confidence trembles. You quiet them by surrounding yourself with people who see your strength, not your limits. You quiet them by remembering that growth always feels uncomfortable, and discomfort is not a sign that you're incapable. It's a sign that you're alive and moving. When you silence the voices that belittle you, you make space for the ones that empower you. You start speaking to yourself with the same compassion you offer others. You begin to recognize your progress instead of obsessing over your shortcomings. You start acknowledging the battles you've survived, the lessons you've earned, the resilience you've built quietly in the background while no one was watching. As those destructive voices lose their power, something shifts inside you. You no longer see challenges as proof of your weakness, but as opportunities to strengthen what already exists within you. You stop measuring your worth by external approval and start grounding it in internal truth. You become more deliberate with your energy, more protective of your dreams, more aware of your own potential. You stop waiting to feel ready because you finally understand that readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. The moment you silence the voices telling you you're not enough, you reclaim the authority over your own story. You no longer let old fears write your future. You begin to act from possibility instead of limitation. You see yourself not as someone hoping to become capable, but as someone who already has enough strength to begin. Stop waiting for permission to pursue your goals. Most people don't realize how much of their lives they spend silently asking for approval that never comes. Approval from family, from friends, from society, from people who don't understand their dreams, and sometimes from people who don't even care. This quiet waiting becomes a habit. You wait for the right moment, the right resources, the right support, the right confidence. You wait for someone to look at you and say, now is the time. But the truth is, no one is appointed to grant you permission. No one is assigned to validate your ambition. The world does not hand out certificates that say you are finally worthy, finally prepared, finally allowed to begin. The longer you wait for external confirmation, the more you delay the life you could already be building. Waiting for permission comes from a deeply rooted fear of responsibility. If someone approves your dream, then the weight of failure feels shared. But if you act on your own authority, then everything falls on you, your choices, your risks, your outcomes. Many people fear this weight because it exposes them. It forces them to own their dream, not as a fantasy, but as a decision. The responsibility is uncomfortable, but it is also the birthplace of every meaningful achievement. The moment you stop waiting for others to open the door for you, you begin to understand what it means to open it yourself. You learn that growth doesn't happen when you are ready. It happens when you move. It happens when you step into uncertainty, when you challenge the stories that have kept you stagnant, when you trust the small spark inside you more than the loud opinions outside. Permission is a trap because it teaches you to outsource your possibility. You hand over your destiny to people whose imaginations are often smaller than your dreams. Some may discourage you because they fear losing you. Some may doubt you because they doubt themselves. Some may project their own limitations onto your path. If you depend on these voices to approve your direction, you will never travel far. Your dream will shrink to fit their comfort. Your timing will slow to match their hesitation. Your ambition will dim to avoid their judgment. And eventually, you will forget that you ever wanted something bigger. When you stop waiting for permission, you reclaim your power to choose. You begin to act not because someone endorsed your decision, but because you understand your life is your responsibility. You realize that people don't need to believe in your journey for it to matter. You realize that your passion doesn't need validation to be real. You realize that dreams are not measured by how many people agree with them, but by how deeply they resonate within you. This shift changes everything. You start taking risks that once felt impossible. You start trusting your instincts more than your doubts. You begin to see opportunity in places where you once saw obstacles. You stop apologizing for wanting more, for aiming higher, for stepping outside the box others tried to place you in. Every goal worth pursuing demands courage, not permission. Courage to begin before you feel ready. Courage to keep going when others don't understand. Courage to face failure not as a verdict, but as a stepping stone. When you give yourself permission, you break the invisible barrier that has been keeping you from your potential. You step into a mindset where progress becomes your responsibility and fear loses its authority. You move from waiting to creating, from wishing to doing, from hoping someone will choose you to choosing yourself. Release the past so it can't define your future. The past has a way of clinging to you, wrapping itself around your identity like a shell that refuses to let go. It reminds you of every failure, every disappointment, every time life didn't unfold the way you hoped. It replays old mistakes like a looping film, convincing you that because something happened once, it will keep happening. You begin to treat your past as a prophecy instead of what it truly is, an experience that's already finished. But many people allow their history to become their prison. They allow old heartbreaks to shape new expectations. They allow past failures to dictate what they believe is possible. They carry memories like anchors, dragging them through every new opportunity, every new relationship, every new chapter. And then they wonder why their future feels like a repetition of what they've already lived. Releasing the past doesn't mean erasing it. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt or acting like it didn't shape you. It means acknowledging that you are no longer the same person who lived those moments. You've grown, changed, learned, and evolved in countless ways. The version of you who struggled isn't the same version of you who's standing here now. But if you keep identifying with your old self, you keep shrinking your potential to match who you used to be. You begin to make decisions based on outdated fears instead of current strengths. You judge new opportunities through the lens of wounds that are no longer relevant. You assume limits that no longer exist simply because your past taught you to. Growth becomes impossible when you filter everything through yesterday. The past gains power when you replay it, reanalyze it, and relive it. It becomes a mental space you visit more often than the present moment. You begin to narrate your life in phrases like, "I've always been like this," or "this is just how things go for me." These sentences are not reflections of truth. They are echoes of old programming. You're not meant to repeat your story. You're meant to rewrite it. Every day gives you the chance to respond differently, choose differently, believe differently. But if you're carrying the weight of old experiences, your hands are too full to grasp anything new. You end up stepping into the future with the mindset that shaped your past failures, guaranteeing the same outcomes without even realizing it. Letting go requires courage because it forces you to face the unknown without the shield of old excuses. It requires you to stop blaming your past for your current inaction. It demands that you step into a new identity, one that isn't built on wounds, but on wisdom. When you release the past, you're not denying what happened. You're refusing to let it dictate what happens next. You're choosing to see your experiences as lessons, not life sentences. You're choosing to believe that your future can look different because you are willing to show up differently. You're choosing to trust that the pain you've carried isn't a compass, it's a chapter. As you let go, your perspective begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to heal from everything and start seeing yourself as someone who has survived everything. You begin to recognize the strength in your story instead of the scars. You start to understand that the past can inform you, but it cannot define you unless you allow it. You stop giving power to moments that no longer deserve space in your life. You make room for possibility, for change, for growth that once seemed out of reach because you were too busy looking backward. Releasing the past frees you to meet your future with open hands instead of clenched fists. It allows you to step forward with clarity instead of dragging doubt behind you. And with every step you take away from who you were, you move closer to who you were always capable of becoming. Remove toxic people who hold you back. There comes a point in life when you realize not everyone around you is meant to walk with you into your future. Some people were only meant to be part of your story for a short chapter, but you kept them in the book long after their role ended. These are the people who drain your energy, shrink your confidence, and cloud your clarity. They may not always be loud or obvious. Sometimes toxicity is subtle. It hides in the friend who mocks your dreams but smiles while doing it. It hides in the family member who always finds a way to belittle your progress. It hides in the partner who claims to love you but fears your growth because it reminds them of their own stagnation. It hides in the people who call you only when they need something or who disappear whenever you need support. Over time, These connections create emotional noise so loud that you cannot hear your own instincts anymore. Toxic people don't just waste your time. They shape your mindset. They influence how you see yourself, what you believe you deserve, and how boldly you pursue your goals. When someone constantly questions your abilities, eventually you begin to question them too. When someone repeatedly dismisses your achievements, you start to feel like they don't matter. When someone treats your dreams as jokes, you slowly convince yourself they're unrealistic. This is how toxicity works. It doesn't break you quickly. It chips away at you quietly until one day you wake up and realize you've been living a smaller life because you allowed smaller minds to guide it. You start adjusting your aspirations to avoid judgment. You start censoring your excitement to avoid criticism. You begin to live with a heaviness that doesn't belong to you. Removing toxic people isn't an act of cruelty, it's an act of responsibility. Your environment shapes your evolution. If you surround yourself with people who fear change, you will fear change. If you surround yourself with people who settle, you will settle. If you surround yourself with people who focus on limitations, you will begin to see limits where opportunities exist. One of the greatest truths about life is that energy is contagious. The people around you either push you forward or pull you backward. They either amplify your potential or suffocate it. And the moment you recognize someone is holding you back, the cost of keeping them becomes too high. Allowing toxic people to stay in your life is not kindness. It is self-sabotage. Letting go of these people doesn't always look like dramatic endings or angry confrontation. Sometimes it simply means no longer making yourself available for their negativity. It means choosing silence over arguments, distance over drama, peace over pleasing. It means recognizing that loyalty is not owed to those who misuse it. It means giving yourself permission to protect your energy even if others don't understand. Walking away is not weakness. It's a declaration that your life has value and that your dreams deserve a healthier environment to grow. As you remove toxic people from your life, something shifts inside you. You begin to breathe easier. You feel lighter. You discover clarity you didn't know you were missing. Your confidence slowly returns because it's no longer being chipped away. Your ideas feel exciting again because no one is mocking them. Your goals expand because you finally have space to imagine something bigger for yourself. The right people don't shrink your world, they expand it. They celebrate your progress, challenge your excuses, and support your evolution. When you surround yourself with people who want to see you rise, you begin to rise naturally. Removing toxic people creates room for the ones who remind you of your strength, your purpose, and the power you carry within you. Choose courage over comfort in every step forward. Comfort is seductive because it asks nothing of you. It keeps you safe, familiar, predictable. It shields you from risk, from failure, from uncertainty, but it also cages you. It keeps you from discovering who you could be if you dared to step beyond what feels easy. People often mistake comfort for peace, but they are not the same. Peace expands you. Comfort traps you. Peace requires growth. Comfort avoids it. The truth is that every dream, every breakthrough, every transformation lies just beyond the borders of your comfort zone. And yet most people never cross that line because fear convinces them to stay where nothing new can happen. You remain stuck, not because you lack potential, but because you choose the familiar pain of stagnation over the unpredictable challenge of growth. Courage, on the other hand, is rarely convenient. It shows up at the moments when you feel least ready. It demands movement when your legs shake. It requires decisions when your mind is filled with doubt. Courage doesn't guarantee success. It guarantees that you won't stay where you are. It pushes you to speak when silence feels easier. It pushes you to try when quitting feels simpler. It pushes you to believe in yourself when no one else has any idea what you're capable of. Courage is the force that turns possibility into reality. It's not loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, just a single step in the right direction when everything inside you says to wait. Courage whispers, go, when fear screams, stop. Most people imagine courage as a grand personality trait, something only heroes or extraordinary achievers possess. But courage is a choice, not a gift. It is built in small moments every time you show up, every time you take action even when your confidence feels thin, every time you give yourself permission to try again after falling short. When you choose courage over comfort, you decide you'd rather face temporary discomfort than live with permanent regret. You decide that potential matters more than perfection. You decide that becoming the person you're meant to be is worth the risk of being misunderstood, judged, or doubted. You understand that staying comfortable might feel safe for now, but it will rob you of the future you could have had. Choosing courage means embracing the unknown. It means stepping into rooms where you don't yet feel qualified, starting projects that feel bigger than your current abilities, and allowing yourself to grow into the person who can handle what you once feared. It's accepting that fear is a natural companion on the journey, not a barrier. Fear only becomes an obstacle when you let it decide your actions. But when courage leads, fear follows quietly behind, unable to stop the motion you create. Every courageous act chips away at the limits you've placed on yourself. Every bold decision widens your sense of what is possible. Over time, courage rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids challenges and start seeing yourself as someone capable of overcoming them. You stop settling for what's easy and start reaching for what's meaningful. As you choose courage consistently, your life begins to transform. You attract opportunities you once thought were beyond your reach. You develop strength you didn't know you had. You build resilience that protects you from future setbacks. You gain a deeper understanding of who you are and what you're capable of accomplishing. You stop living a life shaped by fear and start living a life shaped by intention. And in this shift, you discover something profound. Courage was never about being fearless. It was about acting despite fear. It was about choosing growth over stagnation, dreams over excuses, the future over the past. In the end, courage becomes the defining force that moves you forward when everything else tries to hold you back. Comfort may feel good, but courage feels right. Comfort keeps your world small, but courage expands it. Comfort keeps you the same, but courage shapes you into the person you were always meant to become. So take the step, even if it shakes you. Speak the truth, even if your voice trembles. Walk the path, even if you can't see the whole road. Your future doesn't need your comfort. It needs your courage.